Okay, figured I better finally get one of these out before the off season actually begins. This is the Minnesota Vikings off season preview. Um, just general thoughts here, not like predictions really. I mean a few predictions, but mostly just general thoughts, kind of position by position. Um, you know what they they have to do, what they might do, what they could do, what I would do, what they might do. It's going to be all over the place. And I don't know what's going to happen on a lot of these because with the previous regime, we kind of got familiar with you know with their approach with things. They obviously had a big focus on retaining in-house players, um, and I don't know that that's necessarily going to be the case now, but could be. So let's just start position by position. Start with the quarterback. I'm not going to talk about Kirk for another half hour, but that's obviously one of the big, the biggest domino um, for the off season. What they're going to do. You may have heard there's a $45 million cap hit. It's the most important thing in the history of the world. Um, it won't be $45 billion. I mean, at worst case scenario, they can just put some fucking void years at the end of the contract to lower the upcoming cap and push some of that money, even if they don't extend him, even if they don't trade him. I believe that their focus and their plan is to keep him and extend him, and you know build the offense very much. Um, anyway, and to build the offense very much around him. Um, because I hate the fucking idea that we're gonna finally get an offensive coach in here who says he wants Kirk, and we've got all these weapons that we've been we've been held back by a coaching philosophy in recent years, and I hate the idea that we would forego the opportunity to see what can happen with a real offensive coach. Um, Look, there's reports out there that he refuses to take any sort of a pay cut. I'll believe it when I see it. First of all, we don't even know what pay cut means. Like, yeah, if they're offering him $20 million a year, yeah, I would tell him to fuck off too. I would. Like, I'm sorry. Like, even if even if he desperately, really, really, really wants to stay with the Vikings, like I would tell the team to fuck off if they're offering me $20 million when he could get easily twice that on the market, or get traded and sign an extension somewhere else. But like I think what they will do is there will be an extension. It's not going to be a long one. They're not going to sign with like 5-6 years. I think it'll be 2 or 3 years. Um, it's not going to be like resetting the market, but it's not going to be like drastic, pay cut either. It's going to be like most contract negotiations end up being. It's going to be somewhere in the middle. However they structure it, it's going to help the cap some. It's not going to change the narratives around him because it's not really about the cap hit. They just don't like the guy. But he is going to be here unless only unless is if some other team swoops in with just a fabulous offer for a trade. Because everyone's making the jokes. Oh, they said they weren't going to trade Diggs. Oh, they said they weren't going to trade Harvin. Yeah, they weren't going to unless they got really good trade offers, which they did. And maybe they'll get a really good trade offer for Kirk, because they ain't going to fucking dump him for just cap space or middling draft picks. They're not going to do that. Um, so if some team, and there's like there's a QB list of potential available QBs, and obviously everyone's waiting on the diva dipshit Aaron Rodgers. There's Russell Wilson stuff out there. There's maybe Deshaun Watson stuff out there. You know, Carr is talked about as maybe being on the move. Like, there's a whole bunch of guys out there um, that some of them are ahead of Kirk, some are not. We got to wait on some of those to find out what's going on, because some team out there maybe has their sights set on a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers, and they don't get them because maybe they aren't even available. Well, then they might be calling the Vikings on Kirk. It might be offers for Kirk, and I wouldn't completely refuse the idea of trading him, but you got to really get something. You're not trading him just to clear cap space and go into a long rebuild. You're just not. And if they do, they're rippable, and I will rip them, and I will be doing daily videos trashing these guys for doing that. But I think it'll work out. Just that it'll be some sort of 2-3 year extension, helps the cap, gets some more money. It's not you know people. It doesn't matter what he gets paid. He's going to be called names, but I think he will be here. And I think Kellerman will be the backup. I think he'll be just set as the backup. I don't think they're going to use a first round pick on a quarterback. Everything that I've heard is that this quarterback draft is not good. And I don't give a shit what happens at the fucking combine. The combine is the most worthless thing maybe in all of pro sports. It means nothing. I care about game action. If you're deciding to mortgage the future on a quarterback, you better be doing it based on what they did in games, not based on what they did in a fucking combine. But I think they're going to give Mond a shot to develop for real. Sean Mannion finally will be gone. He can take his one career touchdown pass and hit the road. So let's see. That's it for quarterbacks. Wide receivers. I mean, obviously JJ. I mean, people still talking and whining about the 17 yards he was short of the Moss record. He's going to get that this year, assuming they keep Kirk. He's going to get that this year with a real offensive mind scheming to get him open and get him the ball. And obviously he'll have an extension looming too, in a couple of years. That's gonna really be a costly one. But beyond that, Thielen, Thielen definitely is a strong candidate to be either, I don't think a trade, but certainly a restructure. I don't think he would be like flat out cut. Some of these contracts you look them up, there's so much dead cap if they just release a guy. But a restructuring is definitely a possibility. Because he's over 30. He's had some injuries. He's still productive guy. He's a real good red zone guy. But I don't think I think he's like said to be like the third or fourth highest paid player on the team. It's way up there, and I don't think he's worth that. But obviously to restructure, you need two to be agreeable to it. KJ Osborne, I think obviously he'll still be here. He'll have a bigger part. Mir Smith Marset, I think we saw enough of late in the season that he's definitely got a shot to get more of a focus. Our free agents there are Westbrook and Beebe. See ya. Best of luck to you. I don't think there's any incentive really to keep either of those guys. And obviously and then the tight ends, passing game. Irv Smith's gonna have his big breakout year eventually. Probably would have been this past year if he hadn't gotten hurt. I think he'll, health permitting, he's gonna have a huge year. And I think that's also why you let Tyler Conklin go. I don't know what kind of money he's going to get, but I mean, he had a pretty damn good year. He's still young, good versatile player. Like he'll get paid. I just don't think he'll get paid here. And you got some younger guys behind him that you can kind of move up the pecking order. Chris Herndon, I think he's a flat out free agent, but man, you might as well keep him. You might as well keep him just so that draft pick you traded away wasn't a total waste. And maybe he can be like the new second guy. Kyle Rudolph got cut the other day by the Giants. No, we're not. I don't think we're going to bring him back unless it's a veteran minimum sort of thing. But yeah, he's out. Running backs, Dalvin's a tough one because I don't think you could really trade him for much if that was the area you wanted to save money. I don't know that you can really trade him for much, and I don't think you want to dump him either because he too, you know, good as he's been, you know, he could be even that much better with a real offensive coach. But you know, it's hard with him because you could probably restructure a little bit. They can tweak stuff, but his contract is kind of crappy. um, I think you're just gonna have to kind of deal with that and hope. And look, if he's completely healthy and you take advantage of him better than we have been even in the past couple of years, and he stays healthy and everything, like he's an elite weapon, so he's worth the money. Um, Madison's gonna be in his last year of his contract. I think this will be his last year here. I don't think he's a guy you're gonna end up investing big money in. Um, I don't think you'd cut him for cap reasons, but you could because you got Kene Wongwu, um, who absolutely should have just a big part in the offense. I think he's primed to be like a real breakout. I think. Um, of course, he could have been last year, but then like we saw him, he would bust off a big run or something, and then that would be his only run for the game, and we just sit him on the bench the whole rest of the game. So I never understood that shit. And then we got the Ham, CJ Ham. I'm sure he'll stick around. They can probably. I doubt we'll be throwing any you know sideline routes to CJ Ham anymore, but he's a good player. Offensive line, they were talking up the O line the other day. Obviously we got three guys who are locked in. O'Neill's locked in. Darisaw, he had some bumps as a rookie, but he's locked in. There's no reason to think he won't be. And Ezra Cleveland's locked in. What do you do with Garrett Bradbury? They were even talking up Garrett Bradbury, talking about how different scheme could help him. I suppose that's true, but they're not going to pick up his option that they got to pick up. I forget when. It's not by the start of free agency, but it's shortly after. You're not going to pick that up, and you're not going to cut him because you don't really gain anything by cutting him. You might just ride it out one more year with him, and see if maybe that does make a difference. Just having a different system, but it seems unlikely. But you might just ride it out one more year with him. Obviously, there's been talk that center will be a focus in free agency or the draft. And then we got a guard spot that's very much up for grabs. I think, Wyatt Davis, let's go. Like he should get an actual shot this time around, and there's no reason that he shouldn't, unless we make a free agent signing, and that's of course going to be a free agency focus too potentially or draft. Oli Udo, Sia, he's an obvious cut. He might be the most obvious cut on the whole roster. And then we got just a bunch of guys. Mason Cole, I don't know if they're going to bring him back. I suppose they could if it's just a cheap deal. But there'll probably be some movement, but it won't be quite as much in the offensive line as previous years, where that's always been like the number one focus. I don't think it's the number one focus this year. So defense, up front, if Cousins is the number one thing to deal with, Daniil Hunter is number two. What are you going to do with him? He's got that roster bonus, that big roster bonus. I think in just a couple weeks here. So everything I've heard from them, it sounds like they definitely are focused on trying to keep him. I don't know. It's such a risk because you get a guy who's there's no question that he's an elite player when he's on the field, but this is 2 years in a row where he's basically been gone. He's missed most of the season. Is he JJ Watt? Is he the new JJ Watt, where he's a great player when he's on the field, but he's not on the field enough? And it's a risk because if you get rid of him in some way, you trade him, release him, whatever, and he goes somewhere else and stays healthy, you know he's going to be a fucking beast for whatever team that is, and it's going to look bad on us. And everyone's going to rip Kwesi for making the move, even if it's in Captain Hindsight situation. I don't know. Like his price has got to be lower than it would have been a year ago, but it's not going to be low. Like you're still going to have to pay this guy a lot of money. And I don't know. I don't know that you can do it. Um, it's it's one of these things like you would hate to have him gone from the team, but it's like, boy, if he continues to have injury issues, and I think when he's on the field, his play is going to stay good. But boy, if he has another big injury here, it's like you don't get that money back. So it's a risk. My prediction with him is I think he's going to be gone. I think he's going to be either traded or or released. And it'll suck if he goes somewhere and is healthy and stays healthy. But I don't know that you can do it. If health was not a concern, 100% you'd keep him. But you know, I'm glad I don't have to make that decision. Also strong candidate to be cut or something is Michael Pierce. I think he's just had a completely snake bit time since signing here. But I don't know that you can. I don't know that you can give him big money at this point. I think even like when he wasn't on the field last year, the guys who stepped in to replace him, like Watts, I think they were as good or better. I think, and they're cheaper, so I think you can. I think Michael Pierce is probably gone. Tomlinson, I think you keep Tomlinson. I mean, he's very early into a contract. You'd really be eating a lot of money if you got rid of him right now. Maybe there'd be a restructure of some sort. But I think you'd probably stick with him. Um, you know, I don't know what to expect from Everson Griffin. I mean, I don't know if he's ever going to play football again. It sounds like it sounds like he wants to and everything, but can you invest money in him? I mean, it's mean to say, but it's like with everything that's happened with him, can you afford to do it? And I don't know if they will or not. But I think one thing that helps him there is probably the only place he would play is here. I don't think he'd play for any team other than the Vikings. So you could wait. You could wait through free agency and the draft to kind of see where you are, and then get to the summer and call up Everson if you want and say, hey, you want to go? Let's go. And you could probably get him for an affordable deal. I mean, I would take him back certainly. If he's if he's well, if he's able, and because that's another complicated situation because it's not all about on the field. It's not all about money. It's just there's bigger things involved there. But if he's in a place where he can play and he like he wants to, he's obviously still got something left in the tank. And then you got the young, but just a bunch of young guys. Oh, Sheldon Richardson is a free agent too. You could bring him back, depending on the price. Because he can play in or out. Obviously the new system, the 3-4, that they're going to be using a lot. That changes things too. But he could come back potentially. I don't know what he'd be getting free agency wise, but and then just got a bunch of young guys and a lot of talk already for whatever that's worth about them. Maybe drafting a pass rusher in the first round. So we'll see. Linebackers. There's talk about Eric Kendricks being a cap cut. I just don't see that. I just don't see it. I don't see him doing that. Unless you're just hitting the reset button on the whole roster. Like he's expensive, so maybe you do another contract tweak, restructure thing. But I don't see them getting rid of him. I think he's a long term guy, and I hope he is. Anthony Barr, free agent. Now he's a free agent, but they still have to pay him some money, I think, even if he leaves. And he was talked up specifically by O'Connell, as being a guy that fits what they're going to be doing. I certainly think there's a chance he's back. It won't be on like a big contract again. I don't think he's going to get any more of those, but there's a chance he could be back. And then like a lot of like young guys and stuff for linebacker. Beyond that, Lynch and maybe we'll get I forget Patrick Jones maybe for back to the D line maybe he'll actually get a chance to see the field this year. Our woe-begotten third round picks didn't really get a shot this year, but maybe that could be also like a draft or free agency thing for a linebacker to get someone else in here. Secondary. Patrick Peterson, I would hope they can get him back, but that could be, can they afford to bring him back? You gotta have at least one veteran. You can't. I don't. It's a different regime, but you can't do the thing they did a couple years ago where they basically just blew up the secondary and got rid of all the veterans and just had a bunch of kids out there. You gotta have a veteran. Patrick Peterson was good. He seemed to like it here. Granted, he came here to play for Zimmer and he's gone, but I think there's a decent chance they can get him back, and I hope they do. And Harrison Smith has been talked up as a cut. I don't know. I don't see that. I think they can keep him and just keep rolling with him. Maybe some other restructure. Basically, anybody can be restructured at any time, and they can. I mean, hell, there are things you can do with contracts that you don't even have to ask the player about. Just shift money around. It's so complicated. I'm glad I don't have to deal with this shit. But beyond like those two, like your anchors, your secondary, Mackenzie Alexander, see ya. Xavier Woods, probably see ya. Unless you can get him back for cheap, I wouldn't mind having him back. But I might just roll with Cam Bynum at this point. He showed enough. Last year that I think you could probably throw him out there. And then all the young guys, the Dantzlers, the Harrison Hand, all these guys, and of course, as is always the case, cornerback is talked up as a possible first round pick for the Vikings, and I know everyone's made the joke so many times that it's become as tired as it gets. But yeah, there's a chance they might take a first round corner. But sometimes you got to do that. Or free agency also is a possibility. So that's it. Oh, and then Greg Joseph is a free agent. Do we bring him back? I don't know. Like, you might as well. Like, who are you gonna go? You gonna go spend big money on a free agent kicker? You gonna draft somebody? If you believe the narrative that Mike Zimmer is just a curse on kickers, well, you ain't here no more. So maybe Joseph will be just fine. And I think he basically was fine. Like, he was. I mean, obviously he missed the big one in Arizona, and missed a couple of kicks, but it's like overall he was fine. Like, if you got a whole new special teams coach and everything, so who knows what he's gonna want. Your punter's a free agent too. Like, maybe you bring them both back, and what the hell, you just roll with it that way. So that's pretty much it. I think I've done the whole gamut here. But I have no idea. I don't have names for like who they might go after. I mean, there's both, some of the names are out there, but I don't know. I don't get much out of talking about these guys until they're actually like, have scheduled interviews. I don't know if they're going to do all those by Zoom again this year, but or if they're going to be flying people out and taking them out to dinner. But I wouldn't expect like a big splashy free agency period for the Vikings. A lot of it's going to be in house and what they decide to do with a few key guys. But the big ones that are, I think Cousins stays. I think Hunter goes. I think Thielen is restructured. I think Pierce is gone. I think Peterson will be back if the price is right. And no matter what happens, people are going to be mad about Kirk Cousins' contract because they'll just always be mad. But so we'll see what happens, and then get to enjoy the draft speculation, which is even worse than the free agency speculation. But be interesting to see because we don't know for sure what this new regime's approach is going to be. But you know, you make the right moves. This is definitely a playoff team, and I think could be even more than a playoff team next year. So hope they make the right calls.